Hey, Shalom Israel. Y'all about Shemar Shabbat Thumb to the brothers. Y'all Shemar Thumb by Shemar Shah to the sisters. Police Officer Karak rolling down the Friday Lashawan Qadash class. All right, for the ISUPK out of Arizona. If you look at the very bottom of the screen, you can see the class schedule, which is every Tuesday through Friday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then, of course, every Saturday we hold our Sabbath service from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, which that'll be tomorrow. Today, however, is the Hebrew language class, right? Lashawan Qadash class. We're going to go over the Lashawan Qadash. Today, specifically, we're going to go over the anatomy. So, body parts, right? Your head, your face, your hair, your mouth, eyes, shoulder, knees, all of those things. We're going to go over all of those things. Those are the basic things that you want to understand when you start to learn Hebrew. And we're going to learn those things today, all right? So, if you look directly to my right, it'd be your left. You can see the Hebrew alphabet, all right? This is the ancient Hebrew, biblical ancient Hebrew, all right? Some might call it the Paleo Hebrew or the script Hebrew, whatever you want to call it. That's what the original Hebrew looked like. That's what's to my left. Take just a second to study that, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start putting up this vocabulary. We're going to start off real basic and then get a little bit more in depth, all right? If y'all give me just 1 second, y'all can study that. I just got to get this frankincense going real quick for a second. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the first set of vocabulary. So we're probably gonna do three at first, three of the main terms, and then we'll go ahead and break some of the we'll break some of those things down. All right. So we're gonna start out with the term head. All right. So that term in Hebrew is ra'ash. Right? Ra'ash is how you would say head in Hebrew. After I write all three of these down, I'll go ahead and I'll put the Hebrew right beside them. All right. Then you have face. Panya. All right, and then you have hair. The hair that's on your head, which is the iron. All right. So that's those three words. Those are the main ones we're gonna focus on. We're gonna focus on the things that are on your face today. So we're gonna get, we're gonna get your eyes, get your nose, ears, things like that. All of those things we'll get in Hebrew. All right. Make sure y'all can see that. Then we have the face, we have panya. All right. Panya. Make sure y'all get these things down. All right. For hair, shah, iron. So when you look at that, those are the three terms, three of the main terms that we're gonna go over today, right? everything that we talk about today, or the main part of what we're going to talk about today, are things that are on your face. All right. Those are going to be the main things that we talk about. Like I said, we're going to talk about your tongue, your mouth, your eyes, your nose. All of those things are things that, of course, when you first start out learning Hebrew, you want to know how to say those things. Just like when you're teaching a child English for the first time, they want to understand how to be able to say, say their eyes, their body parts, right? The hand, the feet, the legs. Body parts are extremely important when you learn the language. So that's what we're going to do today. All right. So I'll keep that up there for just a minute, just so that way everybody can, if you haven't taken these notes already and been in the class when we go over body parts, take these notes, write them down. They're really important. That way, when you need to go back to it, you're really trying to focus on learning this language, you'll be able to see what these words are. I'll leave it up there for just a second, but we're going to move on quick. All right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Go ahead and erase this that I got up here. I'm trying to find a better marker. Notice that one. This. Like that one. See how that looks. Looks better. All right. If anybody has trouble seeing this, of course, just put it in the comments. We'll get it taken care of. All right. So eyes is ayun. All right. Eyes is ayun. Ears. Ear. And this actually, make sure it's right. This is just eye. Ayun is eye. All right. One single eye, singular. All right. And then we have ear, which is azan. All right. And all of these things are biblical. When you go into the text, you can find that these things are what the prophets used when they said these words. That's what you found. Exactly what you see up here. All right. This is biblical Hebrew, not to be confused with the new words that they've made up to adapt to the times now. Right. Nowadays, the Hebrew that they got, which is some people call it modern Hebrew, we call it the Assyrian Hebrew. There's a lot of words that have been made up to adapt to the times. This is the ancient biblical Hebrew. All right. So then you have ear, and then you have nose, which is real simple. Eye. If you watched Officer Razan's class maybe 2 weeks ago, I think he taught the class. Op can mean it can be utilized in a lot of different ways, right? So op also can be used in the sense for anger. All right. You ever had your nose flare up when you get real angry? Well, that term nose in Hebrew op can also be used to describe the level or intensity of what your anger is, right? And so when you find the scriptures where the Most High said that his anger is as a burning fire, you find that the word that's used there for anger is actually op, which is talking about his nose, right? So one of those little cool things I like to every time I teach the Hebrew class, I like to point out, right? The way that we speak in Hebrew is so much different than how white people or white society speaks, right? Because they take things a lot literal. For us, even in our captivity, using our oppressors' words and their language, the English language, we still come up with ways to be, innovative, right? So, for instance, we say this all the time in the UPK. We use this example all the time. We say we going to the crib. We're not going to a baby crib. We going to the house. That's where I stay at. We say I'm hopping in the whip. I'm not hopping, to the whip where you get whipped with. I'm hopping into my car. You understand things like that. Well, the same thing for nose. I really wanted to point that out because Razan had taught that a couple weeks ago, right? That nose or op can also be used for anger. All right. Let's get mouth. All right. So mouth is pa. All right. Mouth is pa. You find all of these words several times throughout the Old Testament, which is written in the Hebrew. Um, all right. Let's see. Let's fit one more on there. All right. So let's. Matter of fact, damn, I did kind of want to. I wanted to split these up in a certain way to where when you take these notes, you have to kind of separate it, but don't sweat it. Just take the notes, get the definitions down, right? So let's see. I'm out there. We'll leave it right here, right? Let me see if it's right now. That's Ayan in the Hebrew. Azan in the Hebrew, which is here. Then you got Ha, which is the nose. Right? Then you got Pa, which is the mouth. You got Pa, which is the mouth. All right. These connectors that we use, in case you haven't seen us use these, if you haven't watched one of these classes, we use these just to show how to pronounce this. It's for the pronunciation of the word. All right. So when you see this upside down U right here, what that's representing is that you're going to pronounce this entire character. So this character in the Hebrew, I know it looks like an O, but it's pronounced I. All right. So you're going to pronounce that entire character, and then you're going to take these two characters where you have this U right here. You're going to pronounce these together. That's a Ya and that's a Na. But you're not going to pronounce the entire Na. You're going to pronounce it Yan. All right. Um, Same thing right here with a Azan. You pronounce the entire A, and you pronounce the Zun, right? The Za and the Na combine together, Zun. Same principle for all of them. So that's what that is. I like to throw that in every class just to make sure everybody got it down. All right, leave that up there for just a second, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Now, the reason why I wanted to put mouth on a separate or on the next set of words that we do is because there's a theme that I'm trying to go with, right? So you got your eyes, your ears, your nose. Now we want to focus on your mouth, and we're going to get the words that correlate with your mouth. So I'm going to put mouth up again, just so that way we can have them all together. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Now, I understand we just learned vocabulary today, right? And so one thing about that is you want to just make sure that you take down the vocabulary. The reason for that is the way that I like to do my classes for Hebrew is I do like to have where we have at least a class where we go over the vocabulary, and then the next week we're able to go over how to utilize that vocabulary. Now, sometimes when I'm teaching the classes, sometimes I do it in the same class. Sometimes we go over the anatomy or the body parts or whatever the case, and then after each section, we'll go ahead and we'll run those down in sentences. So we'll use how you could utilize mouth in a sentence, how you could utilize head in a sentence, things like that, right? But today, what I want to do, especially because class started just a little bit late, I want to make sure that we go ahead and get all of this vocabulary in. And the Lord allow, I'll be able to teach the class next week. We'll be able to use those same words and we'll make sentences with them. The same way that you would teach a child. You teach a child that same way. You teach a child the words and then you show them how to use that word, right? Because let's be honest, with vocabulary, if you have the vocabulary but you don't know how to put it into a sentence, it doesn't matter. You understand? So if you really want to learn a language, you're going to have to tune into more than one class. That's really what I'm getting at, all right? So we're going to get to the next one. Once again, mouth is pot. So, right, so I'm gonna put it up top so we know that's the focus. Right. Do like that. Make sure y'all can see that. Hopefully y'all can. Yes, you can. All right. So within your mouth, you got a few things going on, right? So you got tongue. All right. So you got tongue. Let's see, you got tooth. And then we got lips. All right. Lip. We'll do those three for right now. There's a few more things. We're working our way down the body if y'all haven't noticed, right? We talked about the head. Now we went from the ears to the eyes to the nose. Now we're at the mouth. After we get all of this done, we're going to go move downward in the body. All right? So let's see. Lip. Since we're focusing on the mouth here, these are the three that I'm going to do. Then after that, we'll move on down. All right? So the tongue. Now this is what the class is called. The class is called the Lashawan Qadash. Lashawan means tongue, Qadash means holy. So this class is called the Holy Tongue class, which is the Hebrew. That's the holy tongue, the separate tongue. That's the tongue or the language that the Most High gave unto us. Fun fact for the word tongue, Lashawan, which I'll go ahead and put up. The fun fact for this word is that this word not only means tongue, but it means language. All right. So that's why when you find in the book of Acts, right, when you have Paul the Apostle going and talking about at the feast, right, at Pentecost, how everybody was speaking in tongues. Well, all he meant was that they were speaking in different languages, right? That word tongue or Lashawan means tongue, or it can also mean language, and that's exactly what Paul was speaking about at Pentecost. Right, everybody when they was coming from different lands and different nations, although they spoke different languages, some of them might have spoken Italian, Latin, Greek, whatever the case, they was all able to understand each other. And that was the significance of what Paul was talking about, right? Not the things that the Christians do. So that's a fun fact about this. You wouldn't really be able to understand that if you don't know what the Hebrew is, because Paul was a Hebrew, all right? And Paul had the mind of a Hebrew. Think about it today, like I just said. The way that we speak right now in America, even though we're speaking another language, just like Paul was able to speak Greek, just understand that we were still able to make the things that we do now, like crib or whip, or whatever the hell else we got that we just made up. right? Out of our language, that's the same thing. All right. So that's what Lashawan means. All right. It's tongue. All right. You have tooth, which is shut. All right. What's now? This thing is deep when you talk about these things, right? Because a lot of Hebrew words, well, all Hebrew words have a root word, unless it's the root word in itself, right? Um, like for instance, Lashawan is, it means tongue, but the root word of Lashawan is shun, right? Um, and you also have other variations of it, like Lashun, right? All of these things, they all mean something. They're all related to each other, but Hebrew's a lot deeper than English, right? It's a little bit more advanced, right? Um, lip, you have Shapah. All right, and what we're going to do is, because, of course, all of these things have um, plurals to it. You can make them plural by saying, instead of tongue, you can say tongues. Instead of tooth, you can say teeth. Instead of lip, you can say lips, right? And of course, one of the common misconceptions with Hebrew is that you just add yum to the end, and that makes it plural every single time. That's true in some cases, but in this case, lashawanyam doesn't mean tongues. All right, you can't say lashawanyam. That's not how you say lashawanyam plural. Same thing with like tooth, right? Tooth, you can't say shunyam, and that means teeth plural, right? Same thing with lips. So we're going to go over that too when we start to formulate sentences with these words next week. All right, I'll put this up. Now I want to put the Hebrew up for y'all. I got it. All right, so those are the three we'll do right now, and then we'll move on. Keep coming down. Try to get all the way down to feet. While y'all putting this together, right, I did want to point out, right, so here's the difference, right, when I was talking about you can't always just use YAM or yum at the end to make a word plural, right? So like for lip, right, lip is shapah singular, meaning one lip. If you're talking about your lips, both of your lips, you're going to have to say shapathium. So you're going to have to actually change this. You'd have to put this one up. I'm not going to put that. This one up, right? You'd have to say, hopefully y'all can see that. So that's the only thing that it has in common right there, that shapah. Now you're going to change whole characters, right? Right? So now you're going to change whole characters there. So now you can't just think that you can just add a ya to that, because now this ha right here, or this what you would say h in English, that goes away. Now you have the tha replacing it, right? So now the h the ha goes completely away. Now you have shapath yum. So you can't just add this by itself and make it plural. You have to follow the rules of Hebrew. Hebrew has rules just like any other language. Shun by itself is to, you can say for this one in specific, you can say yum, right? That's one, and that's, like I said, you can't really go by that rule every time though, because it's not always true. And this one, it is true, all right? So I hope I'm not jamming anybody up about this. We're going to erase this right now anyway, but I just wanted to show you how making something plural can be completely different. Right, like for instance, right, the term, I don't want to take away from what we're learning right now as far as the body parts go, but let's just say we talk about the word earth. Earth in the Hebrew is aratazah, all right? You can't say aratazah yum. You would have to say aratazah waf, which means, it means plural, right? So like for instance, let's matter of fact, I'll go ahead and we put up these next ones. I think it's 4 that we're gonna do next. I'm gonna show you how the plural for each one of them. And I'm gonna show you how it can differ. I'm gonna show you how it can differ each time. All right. I figure instead of talking about it, I'll just show y'all. I figure I'll, go ahead and actually give y'all some practical examples so that way you can see it up on the screen instead of me talking about it, right? So like I said, we're working down the body, so we're gonna go to throat. What I was doing with that audio, I was like, I'm gonna do neck. Neck. Now we're moving down, right? And also, we'll get to, I'll fill this one in there. Shoulder. All right, so these are the 4 that we're going to focus on next. For these ones, I'm going to give you the plural for these ones as well. Just so at least a couple of them, that way you can have them. And also just see the difference in what they look like, right? So what I'll probably do, I'll just probably do it for one of them. I'll probably do the plural for one of them just so you can see the difference. So for throat is nefaj, right? Neck. Taza wa R. All right, that's what neck is in Hebrew. Back. Back should come. All right. And then we have shoulder, which is kathak. Kathak. All right. That's what we'll do. I'll write in Hebrew. All right. So that's the Hebrew for each one of those words, right? I do remember. I just told y'all that I was going to put the plural for at least one of these. The only thing is with this one, you only have one throat. You only have one neck and one back. So those right now we're not going to talk about the plural, right? Because for your own body there is no plural for those things. You only have one of those. Shoulder is going to be the top young. All right. So that would be one that you can use young. All right. But trust, before we end this class, I'll get you another one anyway, that doesn't use young. All right. So that we can see and explore some of the different variations of how you can make a word plural. All right. So I'll leave it up there for just a second, and then we'll move on. How are we gonna move on? We'll move on. For these next few, there's really not going to be, because we're talking about your body parts. There's not going to be any plurals. I will give y'all the vocabulary, and then of course I'll make sure I get another one. I gave y'all the one example earlier. I'm gonna try to make sure that I give y'all at least one more before we roll out of here tonight. All right. So the next one that we're gonna talk about is belly. Right. You find that term in the scriptures a lot. Belly. All right. You got belly. Womb. Right. We got that a lot in the scriptures. Right. Jeremiah, the first chapter. I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb, right? Most High in Christ, Roe v. Wade was overturned. Most High in Christ for that. Our oppressor's still the devil. These people still gonna find a way to murder their babies. You know, it just is what it is, right? But Commander Johanna did an excellent Black Watch episode of Black Watch on that tonight. Make sure if y'all have not tuned into that, it's on YouTube. It's on the Black Watch News on YouTube. Also on Commanding General Johanna on YouTube. I believe it was one other page. It might have been streamed on the One West ISUPK classes online live. I believe it's on there too. But Black Watch News is where you want to go. Make sure you subscribe, put the notifications on, so that way you can get all the updates, get all the notifications when it goes live. For anybody that might watch this class later, that's June 24th. All right, you want to make sure you watch that episode of Black Watch. Ridiculous. All right. They might still be doing anything right now. I don't know. All right. So now, so after womb, we got inward parts. All right. The term is always used for inward parts. Now, if you want to be literal with this is talking about guts. It's talking about, your intestines and things like that. That's what you want to. If you want to keep it literal, but of course, we know anytime that the Most High uses that term, inward parts, he's talking about. Your inner mind, right? But because we're talking about body parts today, we got to be literal, right? So I'm going to just put the term inward parts. All right. And then we're also going to get two more, right? Since we just did inward parts, let's get some more of your inward parts, right? To be specific, you got your heart. And today we'll also focus on kidneys. All right. And so for belly, you got baton. All right. For womb, you got wakam. Then we got inward parts, which this is not the only way that you can use with this spelling, right? You're going to find out, and I'll explain it in just a second, you're going to find out some of these words can be used for things that are completely different from each other, all right? So for inward parts, you got korab. That's the term that's used in the Old Testament when you see the word inward parts, but korab can also mean war, right? It can also mean fighting, war, battle. All right. But today, because we're talking about anatomy and human anatomy and body parts and things like that, that's what we're going to focus on for inward parts. That's what you see when you find that term inward parts in the KJV Bible. All right. Let's see. So for heart, uh, all right. So for heart, it's loud, and then kidneys. Call you what? All right. Call you what? Now this is plural. You see that S right there? This is a plural. This is plural. It's not a single kidney. It's both of them. All right. By itself, if you want to talk about one kidney, it will just be called ya. All right. But because it's two, and that's kind of why I wanted to make sure I showed y'all another one, right? That wa, same way I was talking about with the ratazah, well, with kidneys, it's called wa. All right. And so that's what makes it plural. That wa with the end right there. So we got the time. Let me make sure. Hold on. 1 second. All right, so we got the time. Oh, yeah. And we got the come. And we got Rob. Probably was. All right. So that's your Hebrew for those words, those terms. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. This will be the last set for the night. Last set for the night. Get a couple more of these terms. Try to get some of the more important ones. Like I said, next week, Lord allow, I'll be able to teach the class again, and then we'll go ahead and get some of these terms and put them into sentences. All right. One of the main things that we really want to focus on is you don't want to flood yourself with information. I know a lot of times, you know, you want to get a lot of the different vocabulary and kind of just flood yourself with information. But the thing is, think about going to like an English class. At an English class, you know, you don't go to the English class and for that week you have 40 vocabulary words. That's not how that works. Most of the times for these schools you have, especially if you're a child, when you're just learning the language, you're going to have maybe 10 a week. You understand? You don't want to flood yourself with those vocabulary words because what's going to happen is you're going to try to focus on getting them all down and you're going to get them down poorly. Now you're not going to know the language well enough to be able to speak. So we got to do these things slow. I know it might be boring and things like that, but we want to make sure that we take that vocabulary and we just really take the whole week to just know those words off of the top of your head. You understand? The same way that you would be dealing with a kindergartner. Kindergartner what? Has to do flashcards. You understand? So the same thing that we just did with heart or with kidneys or with throat or nose or all of those things with face. Have some flashcards put together and just take one side of the flashcard, put face, and maybe even put a picture on it, then flip it over and draw panya and another face. You understand? So that way now you can always remember what these things are, right? I always talk about this in my Hebrew classes. Muscle memory is extremely important. Write the words because that's what's going to help you to remember these words. Excuse me. And also just repetition. Repetition is going to help you. It's going to help you because what you're going to do is you're going to practice these things over and over again. And now you're going to automatically know. When you think the word face, you're going to automatically think it in Hebrew. Some brothers have got to that point. And that's how we all need to get to that point. We need to get to the point where now we're thinking in two languages. It's not hard to learn another language. You understand? Our Hispanic brothers do it all the time. Northern Tribe brothers and sisters do it all the time. They come over here and they learn English and they know Spanish already. But they learn English. Now they can speak both languages. It's not hard to do. We can do it. If our oppressor does it, we could do it. Our oppressor learns French and all of these different languages and all of these things. Right? He flourishes in all of those languages. Well, the way I look at it, that's it. It's just me personally, because I'm in competition with these other nations. The way I look at it is, if they can do it, I damn sure for sure could do it. Because the Most High said in Deuteronomy 7th chapter that we're better than them. Understand? So we don't have to act like it. Let's learn the language, man. So let's get to the next one. Last ones. So I want to make sure I get. So let's get, all right. So a lot of us may know this one. Let's do hand. We're going to do palm also. I'm trying to fill up, before we go, I'm trying to fill this all up. Let's just get a good chunk of these out so that way next week we got some stuff to go off of. Let's actually get fingers. Look at that. All right, the Most High wrote the Ten Commandments on the tablet with his finger, with the finger of God, right? Let's get feet or foot. Okay. It's a lot more than we really need to get into. Let me see. Okay, matter of fact, you know what? What I'll do is I'll get this together right here, right? So we'll have these four, we'll get one more. Let's do 5, right? All right. So we're not necessarily moving in order anymore. Now we kind of just getting the rest of these things, right? Because we started at the head, we're trying to get down to the foot. We got there, but I did want to throw thigh in there, right? So that's where we're gonna stop today. And I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all the Hebrew for these, but I want to make sure that that we get what we got down. I think we went over about 20 different vocabulary words today. Let's hold on to those 20. All right, because next week we'll be able to put those things into sentences. All right, and that's important. Because what the hell is the point? I say this every time we do vocabulary. What the hell is the point of us learning all of these words and we can't speak with them? You know what I'm saying? Imagine just being able to say just, different words, different nouns. These are just nouns. A sentence is not comprised of just nouns, right? You have a subject, you have a verb, you have a noun. All of these different things make a sentence. But you can't make a sentence out of these words here by themselves. You're going to have to be able to know how to put these things in sentences. So this is just the basics. So we can't stop here, right? For this week, we're going to stop here. Next week, we're going to apply these words, right? Lord allow. We're going to apply these words into sentences, all right? So now, go ahead. Show y'all the Hebrew for these. So we're at the hand. You know that's Yod. God. All right, that's how you say that in the Hebrew. For the palm, palm meaning the palm of your hand. This little area right here, that my gloves cover. That's my palm. All right, that's the mar. The mar. All right. Um, and there's a couple of different ways that you can actually. There's a couple of different spellings for that, right? We're gonna focus on that one to hold fast to. Let me see. Then we got finger, which is all right. So it sounds like by. Sounds like by. Which you have there in the Hebrew. And then we have foot, which is regal. Right. Sometimes when you do the Hebrew, so just so y'all know, right? Because I just made that mistake, right? Just so y'all know, if you don't know already, there's you have this Hebrew, which is the ancient Hebrew, and then you also have what's called the modern Hebrew. I kind of touched on that earlier. The symbols are completely different. Sometimes when you learn the language, you learn both of them at the time. That's why I like to focus on the ancient Hebrew when I teach my classes, so that way you can kind of just get one down. But sometimes when you learn both of them at the same time, you can end up mixing them together, which is what I almost did. The God for excuse me, the God for ancient Hebrew looks like that. Just that line, this line coming down. But the God for modern Hebrew, if you look over here, looks like this. Something similar to that, right? So I almost went and did that. That's why you just kind of want to be careful for that, right? All right. So, we have thigh. All right, so that's gonna be what we go over today. All right, that's what we're gonna go over today. Make sure this is clear. All right. And I want to make sure everybody gets these down. So if you do truly care about learning the language, you want to make sure if you didn't already, go back. This video, as soon as it's posted, you'll be able to rewind it, go back into it, and just even if you just got to go to the freeze frames of each specific section, it'll take you probably no more than 5 to 10 minutes. You just go back, write the words down, and write the Hebrew form. It'll be real simple. But you want to have these things in your notes because they're important. Once again, the scriptures talk about us losing our heritage. We want to get back to our heritage. Our heritage is this. You understand? This amongst many other things, of course. We understand that the Lord had promised us the entire earth. So that's important too. But this is also important. Equally as important. Because the Lord gave us everything. He gave us our land and he also gave us rulership and he also gave us our language. No functioning nation has ever been able to function without their own language. You understand? The Lord gave us ours. We didn't have to make ours up, right? So that's really important. I'm gonna leave this up for just a minute, and we'll go ahead and close up the class. All right? All right, so that's gonna be it for today. I know the vocabulary classes. They kind of, they real slow paced because we, have to pause and get everything together so that way y'all can get the definitions down. Excuse me, the translations down and things like that. So if you were able to get through the whole class, which if you care about your language, you should be able to, right? Most High in Christ. Hopefully, brothers and sisters tune back in next week so that way we can, we can get into it, right? We want to make sure that we get into getting all of these different terms down. We get these terms down and then be able to apply them in sentences. That's always been my job as a teacher for the Hebrew has always been to get brothers and sisters to be able to speak fluently in Hebrew. Right? We should be able to do that. A lot of us know two languages, especially my northern tribe brothers and sisters. Y'all know Spanish and English. I know y'all can learn another language. It's easy. You understand? You don't need Rosetta Stone to be able to learn this. Just tune into these classes. If it ain't my class, you can watch Officer Hazahar, which is an excellent Hebrew teacher, right? Tune into his classes every Friday. You can tune into both ours because New York is 3 hours behind us, or ahead of us, excuse me, right? So you can watch his class Arizona time 4 o'clock, and you can come back right over to this class at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to tell you, man, there's more than enough resources for brothers and sisters to be able to learn this Hebrew. All right. Another thing I did want to point out, because I've seen a couple of things, Lashawan Qadash is only taught correctly in the ISUPK. All right. That's what you have to understand, because Lashawan Qadash came out of the ISUPK, One West. All right. And since then, there's been a lot of cats that have tried to amend it. That's where you get to all your Yahuwahs and things like that. The Most High's name is Yahweh, but you got these cats that call him Yahuwah. What's that other one that they say? Oh my God, I gotta remember. What do they say? Dang, I can't even recall. It's something ridiculous. It's what is it? Yahoo or something? I don't know. Some garbage, man. But the point is, that's what people do. They've taken the truth of our language that we brought to them. They take it and they do something crazy with it. They do it all the time. And we can't allow them to teach our people. That means we got to teach them. So you're going to have to learn from the ISUPK. Otherwise, you're going to be misled like every other doctrine that they've ever taught. They're going to mislead you on those. They're going to mislead you on this one too. All right? Just learn this language. Tune into the classes. We got classes every Friday is our Lashawan Qadash class. So if you go to the ISUPK website, all right, you can find whatever city you're in, whether it be South Carolina, North Carolina, Memphis, all of these different cities, Cali. You got the Philly class headquarters, which is in Harlem, right? All of these different classes you can tap into, and you can learn a different Hebrew language class or a different Hebrew language lesson every single day. You understand? When I first started watching these Hebrew classes, I was able to just go and watch one from headquarters, then watch one from Atlanta, then watch one from Houston, then watch one from Cali, then watch one from any place in the entire earth that there is an ISUPK school. We have one of these classes. So you got to make sure that you utilize that, man, because you're learning your language for free. Some cat in the world might try to charge you to learn this thing, but they don't have it like we do. You understand? So that's important, right? Make sure you tune in to all of our classes, including our Hebrew classes. Tomorrow I'm going to have a Sabbath service. We'll have it right here, up here at the school, 12416 North 28th Drive in Phoenix. All right. I want to always remind everybody, look at the bottom of the screen. You can see our class schedule, which is every Tuesday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. And, of course, every Saturday, which is our Sabbath service, which is tomorrow, we got a class. I'll be teaching on the curse of Cain. It's going to be a deep class. We'll get into it. We're going to have a brother from Razan, coming straight out of Tucson. He's going to be coming out here teaching the class with me. It's going to be a heavy class. Make sure y'all tune into these classes. Subscribe to ISUPK Arizona on YouTube. Put that little bell on so that way you get our notifications. And also subscribe to us on Facebook. All right. With that being said, Shalom Israel. I'll get with y'all soon. Yahweh Shem Shabbat. Come to the brothers. Yahweh Shem Shabbat. By Shem Yahweh Shai to the sisters. Shalom.